Oh, yeah, welcome to the sports show. We've shortened the bench a little bit. Patrick Royce and Sid Hartman. And once in a while, Sid thinks that he gets shortchanged in how much he gets to offer. And so this being Easter and Atonement, Forgiveness, Passover, we said we're going to give you more time. Sydney, tomorrow the Minnesota Twins will open the season at a chilly Target Field. Is this one of the colder ones you remember?
Well, they had one in 1962. Our newspaper was on strike. And
really?
Was that the year of the strike?
Yeah.
So you didn't cover? You couldn't write? You couldn't do anything?
Well, we put out a paper, but it wasn't much of a paper. And they had a severe snowstorm opening day, and I think they played. I'm pretty sure.
No, they postponed it one day, but there was a huge snowstorm like a week before, and then there was more snow, and it was 33 degrees. And they played it the next day, I think. And then remember the snow? I was there. Remember the snow all the way around the field?
And they just played with it, huh?
And they had a pile of snow under the scoreboard in right field.
Yeah.
It was there for a month before
Really?
it melted.
Wasn't there?
But, you know, this was before the underground coils that heated the field, too, right?
Wasn't there another one where the floods?
Yeah, 65, they had to helicopter Jim Cott in from Birdsville to pitch the opener.
So 65 was quite an eventful year in this town, huh? You had the floods, so the helicopter in, then you had the All-Star game, then you had the World Series.
Yes, but if you go to on certain roads in the high water mark, like in Shakopee, that's still 1965.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you remember that, Sid?
A car, it'd be over your car.
It was unreal.
Well,
but 62 was, you know what the crowd was? I looked it up today, 8,000.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Season opener.
8,000?
8,000.
What was a typical opening day crowd at the Met Stadium?
Well, now when you go back in time, you got to remember this. 61, the crowd's 24,000, but they were still building the stadium.
So that's about what it held or
that's
something
all
like
it held.
that, yeah.
But opening day wasn't a big event here until the late 70s. For some reason, people started coming.
Yeah, 65 was history. We were John Cole Sr. I always say that they should build a monument for him, not for me. I mean, he had so much to do with this getting baseball. The one story I'll always remember is we had a chance to get the Cleveland Ball Club, and 1957, World Series was in Milwaukee, and Nate Dolan, who was running the Cleveland Club. Where you going? So I'm going to World Series. I live in an apartment. You go no place. Pick up Bill Daly at the airport, who owned the club, and if you guys, if I can convince O'Shaughnessy, who owned part of the team, we're going to move. But the thing that was funny, from a newspaper standpoint, he calls Bill Stephen, who was editor, in, and Daly said...
Who called him in? Coles?
John Coles did. And in those days, we had what you called a roto, and Daly was concerned that O'Shaughnessy would want the team in St. Paul. He calls in Bill Stephen, and Rice, you appreciate this more than you, and he says, when's their next roto?
Rodeo. Rodeo, right? Rodeo?
Roto.
When's your next roto? He says 2 weeks. No, there's no 2 weeks roto. It's the O'Shaughnessy roto.
What's a roto?
A magazine. It's a magazine.
Oh, okay.
It's a magazine, and they did a piece on O'Shaughnessy to build him up so he'd think you'd vote for her.
So
you can picture McGuire, him calling McGuire in.
Yeah, you know, okay, so this week we'll...
But to make the rest of the story...
Oh, there's more?
This club was all set to move. Greenberg had homes there, all had homes there, and when Bill Veeck moved from League Park to the big stadium in New York, in Cleveland, the lease was supposed to read, you could move to no place in Cleveland. And they left in Cleveland off.
If they hadn't left those two words out, they'd be here. Okay, the club, the Gopher coaching stuff, all that straight ahead on the sports show. Stay with us. J.D. Hoyt, stop on by anytime. Pat and the gang are there to serve you, and boy, they've had a great great winter and great spring now. The Twins coming back, not that far from walking over to Target Field, of course. J.D. Hoyt's on Washington. That is some good food. Okay, so Patrick, it's going to be cold this week, etc. They'll play their 3 games, and then, but the perfect storm that they had, the opening of the ballpark, it was a beautiful April.
Yes. Well, they've had 3 straight
pretty good
springs
ones,
that were pretty good. Last spring it was gorgeous. This is winter.
Yeah, so give me some perspective. If the team is not good like most of us think it won't be, you throw in this where nobody's really gotten fired up about the weather hasn't done anything for them. What do you see by May 15th, May 30th?
The combination of no expectations, the Wild are going to be around until about June 8th playing playoff series, and lousy schedule, 15 games in April, 16 games after Labor Day. Worst schedule I've ever seen. 3 games between July 5th and July 29th at home against Cleveland. Worst schedule I've ever seen. They'll announce 2.25. There'll be crowds announced in the mid-20s in April, which means there'll be 12,000 people there.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple years ago they played Tampa. I don't know if you were there in a doubleheader, a makeup, and it was the same day as the NFL draft, and Tampa beat them up, and that's kind of, and by the end of that second game, it looked like Met Stadium revisited.
Well, what they got to do is, people are mad about the $80 million payroll, but why spend more? You have to go where you have to rebuild this thing, and they have some young guys, and maybe next year they'll spend some money if they feel like there's a chance. But Terry Ryan's saying he knows that this team's not going to win.
I guess Aaron Hicks might be the most intriguing storyline going in.
Here's the thing I can't understand. Schedule makers, they know what the situation is. Why wouldn't they make the schedule? It just makes common sense to make the schedule so the warm weather cities
and domes.
But the warm weather cities are like everybody else.
Yep.
They know that you draw baseball fans when school's out. You draw fans in June, July, and August. They don't want 18 home games in April.
That's what I was told, is that they want it rotated just like everybody else. And oh, by the way, it's 48 degrees in Florida yesterday.
And the other thing we're dealing with that we never dealt with before is the economic engine of baseball are regional sports networks, and they want night games in April.
Oh yeah,
and that's why not only now this first series is all day games, but that's why you're playing April night games, because FSN wants them.
Yeah.
The regional sports networks have changed the game. They've changed Major League Baseball. They've changed everything. I mean, when I think about when I started in the news business, the team would be out of town and you'd be scrambling to try to find video and highlights, or you'd go out and shoot games. Every game now is on TV somewhere.
Well, here's an interesting stat. Yesterday I had a meeting with the University of Minnesota president. Last year, the media income was more than the ticket revenue.
Right.
Yeah, meaning TV and a little bit of radio.
For the University of Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Huh?
For athletics.
For Minnesota.
No, for most of the league.
For the University of Minnesota Athletics is what you're talking about.
Yeah, but the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what we've been saying.
That's what Maxie's been saying. The Big Ten Network brings in enough money, you can pay buyouts and you can do everything.
It gives you flexibility you never had before.
But Maxie, when the Twins first came here, almost through the first decade, 20 games on TV.
Right.
16 road games, 4 home games on Friday nights. That was it. 20 games on TV, because Calvin was afraid if he had the game on TV, the cheap Swedes weren't going to go to the game.
Yeah, and then as they gradually came into it, remember this, in the mid-90s, almost to 2000, they did the pay-per-view games. People forget this, right? They were on pay-per-view. If you wanted to watch the game, you paid $8 or something.
Wasn't a real good time to be trying to sell pay-per-view when you were winning 63 games a year.
Finally, they threw them all on, and they found out more people come by getting to know the team.
I remember we made a heck of a deal. Max Winter always used to use me as a bad guy. So we got a meeting with Van Kninerberg, who's the Channel 4 guy, and we're going to go on TV. And there's a question whether you should go on...
The Lakers. Okay, the Lakers in the 50s.
Question whether you go on TV. We got $500 a game, and we thought it was the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah. Take a break, come back. Plenty more to talk about on the sports show. Stay with us. There it is. Stop on by Audi Minneapolis, right off of Wayzata Boulevard. Check in with the folks at Minneapolis Audi, St. Paul Audi. But Bruce Bonini and the group got quite a crew out there. And boy, they made the transition to spring with some great vehicles. Gopher basketball situation. At this taping, we don't know who the coach is. But let's talk about last week. You were emphatic that Tubby Smith would be back. What do you think happened?
Well, I was wrong. I didn't think they could fire him. I didn't think they could give him a long-term deal like they could, and all the buyouts, $2.5 million.
Actually,
and,
3.3, right?
Huh?
Total.
Yeah.
Total 3.3.
And I didn't think they could afford it, but they did it. Teague is the guy that gave the guy the contract. They couldn't get the contract done during Maturi's reign.
But it had been negotiated.
They've been negotiating, but they couldn't get it done for over a year. He came in, he got it done right away. Their fear, I'm told, was that next year, if Tubby coached next year, they wouldn't draw 10,000 people.
I think the boosters, too. I think they had some money guys that they're out beating up trying to get money for practice facility and other things, and they were down on Tubby.
And it's
I know that's true.
Yeah.
It's a $400 a seat after you buy the ticket, too. And some guys said,
$4,000 or
we're going to get.
$5,000.
We're looking at next year's team, and we're going, this doesn't look like much of a team.
Yeah, they, these are two self-anointed basketball experts, Teague and Ellis. They think they're geniuses. They ran this school, whatever it was.
Villa 7.
Nobody ever heard of it, but they thought, I think they thought they'd have a coach by Friday, didn't you, Sid?
Absolutely. I talked to two coaches I don't want to name. Yeah. He says, the one thing they're going to have to fight is the average coach, young coach, is going to call the guy who brought him up, gave him to get the job, get a head coaching job. Like Tom Crean was an assistant at Michigan State, then he went to Marquette.
But that's kind of why you've always liked Flip.
And they're going to say, well, if Tubby couldn't win there, I don't think you can win there.
But that's why you always liked Flip.
Yeah.
No buyout, come in, knows the program, he knows what's up with the practice facility, and he can develop players. That's always been your take on it.
Well, Flip's not returning my calls. He pulled a fast one.
Yeah, I heard that. He's not talking to anybody. He's going undercover.
He puts a call in at 7:30 in the morning to the paper. As if he's returning his calls. He knows I'm not at the paper at 7:30 in the morning.
Well, Maxie, I pointed this out today that last time, if the Wolves want Flip, there's some thought that he'd replace Kahn. I don't know if they do. But the last time we were in this situation where the Gophers were going to hire a guy who was attached to a pro team who was considered very valuable, worked out very well, Les Steckel.
That's right. He was going to be the Gopher coach, right?
There were two openings, and before Bud actually resigned, the Gophers were sniffing around Les Steckel before the Holtz surfaced, and Lynn said, "Now we got something going on here, so don't take this job." And luckily, we landed Les, and Bud's still grateful because he got his big sweetheart deal to come back. So,
do you think Flip, though, it would be easy for him to develop players?
I think he's. They made the playoffs every year he was here, didn't they?
But I mean, at the college level.
Well, he was in the college level. I think their best chance to get one of those three guys, if Flip is a coach,
or somebody that they think can get him to the NBA.
Yeah.
Here's my theory: Norwood and Ellis, if they hire Flip, then they didn't hire their guy. Then it's all Flip. If the program's successful, it's all Flip. If they hire their guy, then Norwood and Ellis are heroes if the guy can win. I just hope they don't get the guy from Wichita State, who's a complete goofball, from what I understand.
Well, I mean, you people might already know, and we might be making idiots of ourselves talking here. Back after this.
Just like you said.
Trump change.
There it is. Thank the local sponsors, Olson Thielen Tradition, Faegre, Baker Daniels, and Yellow Gallery Winery and the Minnesota Vikings. Taste of the NFL. Wayne Kostrowski's got it going on. Don't even today. If you were at Bar Abilene, you had a great
So when
bunch
you
and whatnot.
tried to convince the Gophers to keep Tubby, and
Yeah.
you kind of campaigned for Tubby, what was your mail like? What was your emails like? What was your response? The public
50-50.
Really?
50-50? Lot in favor?
Huh?
Lot thought you should have stayed?
Surprised. I'm
50-50,
surprised they were
50-50.
down on him.
I'll give you like some of the top alumni I talked to who are tuned in. They thought it was 60-40 that you stay.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, what was
After
the
they let him
reaction
go.
that he was let go and you were still saying they made a mistake? What was the reaction?
Like I say, 50-50.
That's about it, huh?
It wasn't that one-sided.
Well, it's, there was, these guys had turned on him. I think we should have all known this was going to happen when Ellis goes on the halftime show of the Iowa home game and rips Tubby's offense.
Yep.
When you got a guy on your local, on your
Yep.
home,
The home
broadcast,
and you're critiquing
ripping
the coach, first of all.
at the halftime.
He's the guy who got him fired. He wants to control the basketball program. He ripped Tubby to me, too. So he wants to control the basketball program. He controlled the basketball program at Virginia Commonwealth. But how can you control the basketball program and do color on radio at the
Well, he
same
didn't do color on the radio. He was a halftime guest.
Oh, is that what he was?
Yeah. When he said that,
Halftime
yeah.
guest when
I
he
didn't know
ripped
that.
Tubby's offense.
What do we think about the Wild going down the stretch? They picked up
There.
some momentum, and all of a sudden they're going to be the chic team here.
I think we're going to, Sid's, what time
Yeah,
you
what
got
time
there,
you
Sid?
got there?
I think that they're going to be around until June, and all those guys on West 7th Street with bars like our friend Tommy Reed and those fellas.
Allery's.
Cassetta and Allery's, and Allery's is a further. They're going to be jammed until about June 23rd. Suter is fabulous, the
Yeah, he's on-
defenseman. He's
They
great.
say he's the best
23rd.
defenseman in the league right now.
Playing hockey?
Oh, they're pushed back.
The season
Sid.
got pushed
They're
back
pushed
because
back
of
because
the
of
lockout.
I think they're going to be at least till the third round. I think
So-
they're
so-
going to win a couple of rounds.
So they flipped the switch. I mean, and you go out there and you talk to the guys I was out there today, they just say it was just repetition.
Yeah, all of
Finally,
a
we
sudden
got it.
they're scoring 7 goals instead of 7 a month. They're scoring
Western
7 in a
Conference.
game. Yeah, it's they got nice combination of guys like Cullen and the veterans who are
old.
playing well, and then they got the kids.
Yeah. And he gives the kids a lot of credit. Those two kids. Bowden, is that his name?
Brodeen.
Brodeen's fabulous.
Bodine and Coyle.
And the second and third line is what's been the difference here. And they started putting what points. As you know, you've always been a stickler for second and third line. They don't talk
Gotta
to you
have
about
depth.
the first line.
I don't know one thing about that hockey. Is all I know is they started out early, and I thought for sure the coach would get fired.
Yeah. What,
And
hey, do you think that the Vikings will take Teo in the draft from Notre Dame? He's going to be sitting there possibly, and they need a linebacker.
I think they will take 2 linebackers on the first.
Nah, they won't take it. Well, they'll take a receiver.
Huh?
They'll take a receiver, don't you think?
No, I don't think so. Not in the first round. They think there's a lot of receivers all the way down. That's what Spielman told me.
I saw the projected draft, and it's all offensive linemen, the top 10 or 12.
But if Teo's sitting there and you need a linebacker, do you think that
Oh, Maxie, you know what the chances of the Vikings getting Teo are? 100%. They're going to get him because they're the Vikings, and we never have training camp in Mankato without chaos ensued. And this guy, they can't avoid making news. They will draft Teo. First of all, they're tied in with Notre Dame. They got Harrison Smith, and everybody tell him what a great guy he is. Plus, they're the Vikings. There's always something. The biggest story.
That's what makes the Vikings the
There'll be-
Vikings.
There's 100% chance he'll be in Mankato.
do you think his image goes away right away once he starts playing, or does this live with him forever?
Pardon me?
Do you think this Teo can overcome what he's been through, or
How do I know? I mean, I don't think they'll take him for that reason. I don't think the Wolves want that thing.
No,
That kind of
that's
stuff.
not that big a deal. What the hell?
it depends on where he grades out too? I mean, whatever it is that
He
they
ran
run
a
him
little
on now.
faster on his pro day than he did
Notre Dame.
at
Question
Indianapolis. He
is-
looked in better shape to me.
Question is, do they want what Pat says? Do they want all this
Yes.
crap that's going to go on?
Yeah, they love the
Of course,
publicity.
what's the difference? The Vikings have seen, I mean, you can have Brett Favre,
You can
Percy
have
Harvin,
Favre, yes.
the Love Boat. I mean, this is just a walk in the park, isn't it?
Yeah, this
They're
is
pretty good at that stuff. All right. Happy Easter, everybody. Thanks for watching the sports show. See you back here next week. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Well.